Hello, I'm Laura, and you're about to watch my conversation with Academy Award-winning actor Matthew McConaughey.
To that I say, all right, all right, all right.
In this chat, we take a step back in time to how his dad raised him to fight, when he felt like he'd earned his place in Hollywood, and why he is a man who prays. If you love it, click like so more people can find the video, and check out Matthew's first book, Greenlights. It is out now, and we kick off this conversation asking what he's loving about doing press during a pandemic.
What I'm really enjoying is the long form, to give full context of things, and talk in a longer form about subjects, because shorter form, which I enjoy, but it's more of, they're looking for that bumper sticker. They're looking for that headline. What are they going to put in bold print? What's the one line that's going to be,
Yeah.
And that's really not how the truth lives. It's not really all in just one headline.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you what, from our perspective, I love getting to chat a little bit longer because, as you say, you can, dig into stuff. And let's talk about your wife, Camilla, for a second, because she is beautiful. Your family are beautiful. But getting married isn't something that everyone does in Hollywood. So why did it matter to you to get married and to commit and make it permanent?
I've always understood and seen and been around some very good examples of married couples that were stronger together, whose adventures in life continued and even expanded. But I did have to go through many years of saying, okay, this needs to mean more than just the social moral expectation of church and state to say, this is just what you're supposed to do. I said, it has to be more than just, it's what you're supposed to do. I said, I got to unpack this thing. And I write about it extensively in the book about, that idea for me was that, the adventure is over. That becomes sort of like a proper noun, an ending, a landing spot, a ta-da. Okay, now we've arrived. Well, geez, that idea right there scares the heck out of me with anything, not just marriage. When I came to understand that actually, and the 1 times 1 of 2 people coming together actually equals 3, that sort of celestial and divine multiplication there, that it's you're the other in a covenant with God, that when I became to see that, the adventure coming together in a union with someone does not mean that, now I only have 50% of the individual experience of a situation and she has 50%. No, I still can have 100 and she can have 100. And so together that experience can be 200%. I'm not losing the percentage of the experience for myself and whatever it is I'm engaging in life. So once I understood that and came to believe that, and not just intellectualize that, but to believe that, and that the marriage was a covenant with God, and that also marriage for me is the first time now that, you can stumble but not fall, or you can fall but still get up. You start living for the future. You really take an investment in what the marriage is, and when you go through a hardship, unlike when you're not married, you don't go, this is the beginning of the end. It's coming up. You're like, no, we're in this. We spent a lot of time going over why we wanted to make this bond together. And it takes hard work and takes resilience and takes a commitment. And that commitment can pay off.
Yeah, you take more time to kind of work things through together, and there is a sort of safety in that, I suppose. But you're also sharing Greenlights about some of the things, along with family, along with getting time alone, these values that are really important to you. And prayer also comes up in that as something that you take time to do. Why do you pray? Why does that matter to you?
Prayer is my time to do inventory on myself, loved ones in my life, and what's going on in the world, and to get a perspective on who am I in it, what matters to me, what can I work on, what do I forgive myself for, what do I say, no, I'm not forgiving you for that because you just keep being a repeat offender on that. So we're going to just change this damn thing because I'm going to quit letting you off the hook with forgiving yourself for it. Or what things I go, you know what? No, Who the hell do you think you are, Matthew, for being so feeling guilty about such a situation or something you did? Where do you get off thinking you're judge and jury? I have to tell myself that sometimes and go, you need to forgive yourself on that and keep working on it, because you're kind of being arrogant to think you're so right and being so judgmental of yourself. So it connects me to a very fast-paced life that I live in, that a lot of people live in. It's very hard to get sort of demarcations between events. For instance, today, you're my 8th interview. I'm going back to back to back to back to back. I may start a story here in a minute and go, like I was saying earlier, and I may have to catch myself because that may have been an earlier interview, and you may not have even been. Things start to cover and overlap. What prayer does for me is it stops time. I become number 2. I'm able to look at my past. Maybe it's at the end of the day. I say a prayer. I look at my day, unpack it slowly, one at a time. Well, what did I do? If I can get back to remembering what I did when I woke up, then what did I first do? Then what did I have for breakfast? Then what was my first interview? What did we talk about? If I just can have a mental clock in with those things, all of a sudden they start to spread out, and I see them each. I kind of experience them all over again for what they were. And then that allows me to then go, okay, so what are my plans tomorrow? What are my goals tomorrow? What do I got to do? What are my responsibilities? And when I have a better understanding of where I've been and where it is I want to go, I'm much more able to be present. So when I pray, I go through on Sunday, for instance, if I go to church, for me is going through my week. Back to last Sunday after church. What did I get from that? What did I learn? What did I try to take into the week to work on? How did I do? What did I do Monday? What did I do Tuesday? What did I do Thursday, Friday, Saturday? Ooh, Saturday. Yeah, you started to kind of lose that a little bit. That's why I'm glad we came back to church on Sunday. It's really spread out nicely. I needed it by Saturday. And then I think about my everyone in my life, and I go through a Rolodex of frames of seeing my children, my wife, friends, anyone who comes to mind. And I go through a Rolodex of pictures of them in my mind when I've seen them as their most true selves. Not necessarily the most happy, not necessarily their most smiley, just their most true selves. And I stop and I freeze frame on that picture of them in my mind. And I then pray that more of that, the person that I see, and that they can flourish, that they can be that more of the time. And then I end up my prayer with going through a Rolodex, trying to get a picture of me when I'm my most true self in that week that I just left. And that sometimes is the hardest picture for me to find in my mind.
Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are when you're your most true self?
Well, it changes. Sometimes I freeze frame myself in a big frame of laughter where my kids and I were dancing, making fun of somebody. Other times it was a thoughtful week, and I'll freeze frame on myself where I'm just in a moment of repose, and I'm receiving what the world's giving. So sometimes I'm receiving, sometimes I'm giving. Sometimes I'm introverted, sometimes I'm extroverted. It's different pictures of different states of being every time. The picture's always different, and it's always different for when I roll through the other people in my life too. I think that's true for everybody. Our true selves come out in different ways at different times for what we need. For me, so sometimes it can be moments of repose and thoughtfulness for me. Other times it's me feeling on top of the world, and laughing. Or sometimes it's me shedding a tear. Sometimes it's me on a walk. Sometimes it's me glancing at myself as I walk by the mirror and giving myself a wink.
Why not? Why not?
So it changes.
Yeah, but there's something that seems fairly consistent in what you share in Greenlights about the times where you go on these kind of remote trips. And for one, I can't imagine any trip you do ever truly being remote or alone, because surely there'd be people there who maybe disrupt you or distract you and ask questions about your life. But take us into some of those trips that you've done, because there was a really beautiful moment in one where you said that you're lying there like naked under the stars and you just felt like you were a child of God in that moment. What did that mean to you?
So when I go on those, in that time in Peru is the time you're bringing up, is when I was laying naked under the stars. I had to strip every sort of exterior sense of identity. We all have, talismans. We have a bracelet. We have a McConaughey ring. We have a necklace. We have a prayer bead. We have these things that give us sort of sense of significance. We get tattoos. We get these things that are like, that means something to me. That's a guiding tool. Well, I needed to go, and I have needed to many times in my life, to go away and go, well, hey, you got that Matthew 6:22 ring on your wedding ring. And that's from the book of Matthew in the Bible, Matthew 6:22. If thy eye be single, thy whole body will be full of light. And yes, that guides you and that keeps you in line and is a quote and a place to go to remind you, Matthew, to have the high eye. But who are we without that ring? Who are we without that cap, that American cap, or that other bracelet that your dad gave you, which means a lot? We got to get rid of this. Well, who are we without all those things, those earthly things that we've gathered in our mortal time here? Well, in that spot is where I want to go, okay, who am I now? And I've had to do that before. And that is that proverbial laying naked under the stars going, okay, after a purge, I've stripped every talisman and outer sense of identity for myself away and going, who am I without all of that? Even though those are good things and inspiring and aspiring things that are very useful, who am I without those things?
Yeah.
And that's, more than literally stripping yourself to be naked. That's figuratively stripping of yourself and going, what if I didn't have church to go to on Sunday? What if who am I if as just a child of God? Not a McConaughey, not an American, not a man. None of those things, just as a child of God. And that's the most sort of vulnerable place to be, but there's value in stripping down to get to that place and then feeling the empowerment in that humility.
It's a real discipline, and probably one that a lot of us could employ. And in the career that you've lived, it's very clear that you've had great success, and a lot of us love the movies that you've made. We've had fun watching them, but you've always come at the industry with such an underdog mentality of wanting to fight to where you've got to today and finding your place. Has there been a moment where you suddenly felt like you belonged, you'd earned your place, and you deserve to be where you found yourself now?
Well, I choose the word earn instead of deserve, because I don't know who the heck deserves anything. Deserve can be sort of almost a condescending and arrogant word at the same time. I feel secure that I've earned everything that I've gotten, and I've in respects to my vocation in my industry, I've been given the grandest pinnacle trophy there is of Best Actor for an Academy Award. I feel like I earned that, but to get the validation of that from my peers, that now my craft was translating. My personal craft translated and not only was related to by other people, but it inspired other people to go, oh, that was true. That was a really true performance and an inspiring to whatever effect it was. So I feel like I earned those things. I'm not a fan of false modesty. And I probably learned to not be falsely modest because I failed so many times. And I've got enough failure to go, oh man, when I do win or do succeed, I'm going to go, thank you. You know what I mean? Because I know that that's just not how it is and how it's going to remain. Now, the idea of being an underdog, that's where that's a tool that has become instinctual for me, because I don't want to be satisfied. I don't want to get complacent. I don't want to feel like I know better than to believe that there's ta-da moments in life. Those are fictitious when we get there. They're a mirage. They are fleeting. Those moments when we go, ta-da, I've got it. Those moments are not real. Even though when you're in them, you're like, this is so easy. It's so true. It's so clear. How could I ever be off this frequency? Well, trust me, you will be. Either by our own doing or by the world's doing, you get off of that frequency again. So I've learned that there's no real arrival, and that the best I can do is to keep chasing, keep grinding, keep working, keep trying to break a sweat to be my better self, or better at whatever it is I'm doing, or more true at whatever I'm doing. And once I reach that, it's not like there's any fewer questions or any fewer ambitions of things to go after. There's actually more. Every time we reach that height that we maybe only dreamed of getting to, you don't get there and go, well, now I got it. Oh, you get there and you look over and you go, oh my gosh, there's infinite miles to go.
Does that feel good to you, or does that feel challenging to think that you'll never arrive?
That's the ticket, I think. That's it. I think it's more than just than just feeling good. I think that is as good as it gets. And to realize that staying in the process to try and keep aspiring to be closer to our more transcendent selves, that is as good as it gets.
You do make a great distinction between feeling responsible for the success you get and having to work for it versus just trusting God that it'll all work out and it'll all be okay. What caused you to make that change?
Well, that's a constant dance for all of us, I think, in many ways. Look, and I've had my agnostic years where I was fully like, no, this is about self-determination. And I wrote in the book, that wasn't as much about me challenging the existence of God or not, which I did question, and have questioned, throughout my life. Wasn't about disclaiming that as much as it was about going, you're kind of letting yourself off the hook a little bit here about some things. You're kind of letting some things slide in the name of fate, that you need to get your damn hands back on the wheel and go, no. I'm a big believer in self-reliance, and that we do have our hands on the wheel, and that God does want us to take that responsibility. If not, well, then go out and run every damn red light. And I'm sorry, the God I believe in is not happy with that, going, woohoo, fatalist, whatever happens, happens. Inshallah, yeah, good Lord willing, it'll happen. Well, no, BS. It takes work and it takes discernment. It's why he gave us free will. And why we have free will, choices to make. And it's not supposed to be easy, and it is on us, mortally. So that dance is a constant dance that I think everyone goes through in different ways. And there's times, where when you look in the rear view mirror of life, if you look from the moment we got on this call to now, everything back from right now is a science. You can add that up. You can connect the dots, but how we got exactly here and what we've been talking about in this last 15 minutes. But everything moving forward from right now is an absolute mystery. We can determine our way to go. It may go how we want it to go. It may not. If it does go how we want it to go, we'll keep at it, because in a minute, very shortly, it's going to go a different way than we thought. We cannot read the full future. So we're writing it. It seems to me that we are writing our own stories hand in hand with as it has been written, fatally as well. So where those two are, how, which one's in front of the other, I do believe they're at least hand in hand. Sometimes one's either a little behind or a little ahead. I'm not sure, but that's part of the dance.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to have to constantly work out. But talking to you now, and even after reading your book, you're very obviously a deep thinker, and you wrestle with some of these questions, particularly in the moment when you were transitioning from being the rom-com guy that we knew into some of these more dramatic roles. There was an instance where you turned down some really big money. We're talking like 14 million US dollars, which for us in Australia, that's a lot of money.
That's a bunch of money in America too.
Yeah. And yet you said no, which to me says that money obviously isn't your highest value. It's not the thing that determines the decisions that you make. So what are the things that matter more to you and that sort of determine the choices you make that aren't money? What is the thing that'll make you say yes?
Well, let me precept this with, because I don't want to be cavalier, and let me precept this by saying I'm a fan of money. Okay? And what I'm about to say is not a condemnation of money or fame. I'm a fan of money and fame. I have money and I'm famous. I understand that. So I also understand how it's easier to say what I'm about to say as someone who's not having to work today to pay my rent tomorrow. We're going through COVID. People ask me, how you doing? I said, man, relatively speaking, I'm doing pretty well. My pantry's full and I don't have to work today to pay my rent tomorrow, which some people do. So I want to be sensitive to that. I'm not out there saying, don't give a damn about money. That is not what I'm saying. I will say this though. I do respect the question of, well, when's enough's enough? What, soon as, I was able to turn down $14 million, one, because I needed to make I needed to say no to that for my own soul, for the work I was doing. But at the same time, I called my money manager before and said, how have I invested my money here? Because I'm going to go with that work and I'm going to turn down a $14 million. Is my rent paid? And he wasn't paid forever, but he's like, you've done well with your money. You're going to be able to go for a little while without working. So I had a privileged position that I'd put myself in that position to go, no to this money, no to this work that I had been doing that in a way was keeping me from being able to do the work I wanted to do in the more dramatic roles. I had nothing against the rom-coms I was doing. I had just done them and they had done so well that that's the only thing I was getting offered. And that work was not challenging me. And I was wanting my work to challenge me as much as my life was challenging me. And that's why I stopped doing the rom-coms. That turning down that amount of money did send a little bit of a lightning bolt through Hollywood and let Hollywood say, oh, McConaughey's not bluffing about not doing these rom-coms. He's serious. Their reaction was similar to yours. You just turned down that amount of money. And the script was good. It was good. It was consensus. The script was good for what it was. But I said no. And they went, oh, okay. So then no offers came in for another 14 months. And I was gone. I was forgotten. But that's exactly what I had to be. I had to unbrand before I rebranded. And that 20-month period of not working, it was an unbranding period. I was only seen as the rom-com shirtless on the beach guy. Well, now I'm in Texas. I'm not on the beach. I'm not in your living room or in the theater in a rom-com. After 20 months, it's like, where the hell's McConaughey? Then I became a new good idea and got offered the roles that I wanted to do, which were dramatic. And that's when I did those and started to rebrand. But I had to unbrand for 20 months to go rebrand. Over my life, I've got many stories in the book of where sacrifice and choosing the right kind of resistance to overcome. A lot of times it was about endurance. Like that was an endurance test. How long can you go without? I've reaped great, valuable rewards from sacrifice. And I believe that's true for all of us in our lives. I'm not saying everyone's got to take a 20-month sabbatical from doing their job, but I am saying it's valuable to measure our responsibilities and what we want to be responsible for in order to have the kind of freedom that we want. And a lot of times that does not mean freedom is not, the title of the book's Greenlights. If the world was all green lights in front of us, that's not true freedom. We would just go in circles and go nowhere. You got to have the red and yellow lights. You sometimes have to put them upon yourself to make sacrifices, create yellow and red ones, even for ourselves, put the right kind of resistance in front of us to therefore overcome or endure to get out the other side and go, okay, I evolved a little bit. I had to go without. The devil's in the yeses more than he's in the no's. It's in the infinite yeses. The too many options will make a tyrant of any of us.
Yeah. That's where we can get into some serious trouble.
Yeah.
I heard Kate Hudson say ages ago, when it comes to these romantic comedies that you make, the one you did in Australia, Fool's Gold, there's these moments in the movies that we watch them and we think are so romantic and sweet. There's the kissing scene, it's beautiful. She said they're basically water-filled snot, sand, it's gross. Is that how you remember them as well?
Well, so, here, for instance, okay, here's the scene. So you've fallen out of the helicopter and you're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. You've gone under the water. But when you come up out of the water, you're wondering if the other one's alive. You look over, you see each other and embrace and kiss. So you have to come. So on action, everyone go underwater and then come bursting out of the water, find each other and going for a kiss. Well, geez, on take 6, you got salt water up your nose, snot's coming out. You can't see straight. You're coming out. You're going over. You bumped each other. and then you go in for a kiss, you miss each other's mouth by 5 inches, and you go, oh, geez, this doesn't look, we got to do it again. And all of a sudden you're getting tired, and all of a sudden you're like, how do we make this look good? Because it's damn awkward right now. And so we haven't had many kissing scenes, her and I, in movies where it was like, the weather's good, no one's interrupting, we've got our own time, no one's going to come, nothing's going to drop off the ceiling and land on our head in the middle of the shot. And so that's what she's bringing up, that and then you have to say, well, how do we make this look passionate? How do we make it look good on film? Because sometimes you can do it where you go, well, I think that looked good, and you look at it on camera and you go, oh geez, no, that doesn't look good. We got to do that again.
Yeah, the rest of us are fortunate. We don't have cameras watching us. But my last question for you, we'll touch on your dad for a moment. He's a really awesome guy, and he clearly taught you a lot. Both you and your brothers went through these rite of passage moments where you kind of had to prove yourself as men and show you had a bit of fight in you. Yep. Why do you think fighting was the thing that really showed your dad that you were a man and you were ready for the big wide world?
Well, you got to remember he came from a different generation. And that's how, physicality and a man's rite to passage, especially a male, masculine rite of passage, goes back to the beginning of time. That's physical feats, whether it's the boy in the tribe that goes off and can't come back until he slays the lion. I mean, that's an ancient mythology all the way back since way before our time. In our household, and it still happens today, the young bucks challenge the head lion. You see it in the wildlife all the time. The two proverbial late teenager, lions think their mane's gotten long enough, and they see the big lion over there, and they kind of roar a little bit, and they're talking noise, and they're looking around going, yeah, I'm the next to take over the throne, until the big lion gets up and goes, really throws out a roar that makes the adolescent lion's tail go through their legs, go, oh, geez, no, I didn't really mean it. So there were, mostly with my dad, it wasn't as much about the actual physical, it wasn't about like getting in a fight as much as it was having the courage to say, I will fight for it. Meaning, with my rite of passage and my older brother's rite of passage, my dad, we had made the rite of passage with our father once we said, no, I'm willing to put my physical ass on the line. And as soon as he saw us do that, then he was like, that's my boy. We don't even have to fight. It wasn't even about the fight. It was just that you accepted the challenge, because life's going to be hard and you're going to get challenged in a way. And you got to be able to put your backside on the line at times. Yes, you can do it intellectually, but also sometimes physically, you got to put it on the line. And there's value in that. So it wasn't as much about the actual fight. It was about the actual time going, nope, let's go. That's when my dad goes, thank you. There you are. And then from that day on, he could be buddies with you. So that's what it really was, about the challenge. And, or to stand up, like I said, I got, my butt whooped for lying. It was a good reason to get a butt whooping. I'd stolen a pizza. I lied because I was thinking my dad, I'd really get in trouble for stealing the pizza. But what I didn't know that I know now is it wasn't about stealing the pizza. It was, did I have the courage to tell my dad the truth? I stole the pizza, Dad. You're right. That's what he was looking for. So why did I get in trouble from him? Not for stealing the pizza. I got in trouble for lying to him about it, not being a man enough to go, yeah, we stole it. He'd have got upset, but if I'd have told him that, instead of weaseling out of it and fibbing 4 times in a row, he'd have gone, come here, buddy. All right. Let me tell you how to get away with this better next time if you're going to do it again. You know what I mean? But it would have been its own rite of passage,
Yeah. Well, Matthew, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
See ya.